Now let's get into it. I want you to take a close look at this photograph here. It shows two Israeli soldiers posing in the bed of a Palestinian child they had killed in Gaza moments earlier. It's truly depraved, but murdering children and even babies is what Israel does best. We know this already. But here's the thing. The soldier on the left is from India, and he's just one of hundreds of Indian migrants to Israel participating in the extermination of the Palestinian people. Very few people know that the very first Israeli soldier to be killed during the current invasion of Gaza was also from India. Which brings me to 2 points of data that the mainstream media has completely ignored while covering this genocide. But Israeli soldiers of Indian origin are not only responsible for some of the worst massacres to occur in the Palestinian territory during the past 85 days, but also they're feeding information about Israel's ethnic cleansing operation to India's security agencies.
Members of the Indian community are taking on Hamas terrorists in Israel.
About 206 reservists have been called for duty.
Their genocide operations are supported by Indian military intelligence gathering efforts, a byproduct of the close intelligence sharing relationship India enjoys with Israel, as revealed recently by the former National Security Advisor to Benjamin Netanyahu.
There has been intelligence cooperation between Israel and India over the years. It's a long cooperation, and I had the privilege of being in it, and I recall visits to India, heading delegations to talk with Indian counterparts and colleagues.
Last month, the Israeli ambassador to India boasted that he could create an entire Israeli army with the number of volunteers he has received from Hindu nationalists in India, who are just itching to kill Muslims wherever they can find them. But let's first focus on the hundreds of Indian Jewish soldiers who are currently in Gaza, killing Palestinians and blowing up schools and mosques, while also sharing information about Israel's genocidal methods with Indian military officials. Information and intelligence that's helping the Modi regime develop its own blueprint for genocide in India and Kashmir. I mean, it's already been reported that Israel's barbarity in Gaza has become a great source of inspiration for the Modi regime. And we also know the Indian government is studying closely the tactics and strategies deployed by the Israeli military in Gaza, along with the propaganda narratives used by the Israeli government, leading many experts to conclude that Muslims in Kashmir are now in great danger of ethnic cleansing in the name of Indian self-defense. India's genocidal plans for Kashmir were accidentally made public in 2019, when an Israeli diplomat in the United States let slip that India will adopt the Israel model to ethnically cleanse the Muslim population and resettle Indian Hindus.
Because we already have a model in the world. I don't know why we don't follow it. It has happened in the Middle East. You have to look at if the Israeli people can do it, we can also do it. Yeah. I think we should just follow from there and push our leadership. We have to push our leadership.
And now that India has watched the international community do absolutely zero to punish Israel or stop the genocide in Gaza, Kashmiri leaders are now sounding the alarm. A warning that was given added emphasis last week when Indian soldiers tortured 3 civilians to death in the Muslim majority territory. The Modi regime figures that if Israel can get away with murder in territory it illegally occupies, then so can India. It's also important to understand that whereas the Gaza genocide has mobilized millions of Europeans and Americans into joining the Boycott Israel movement, the same genocide has inspired millions of Hindu nationalists to dream about mass murdering Muslims in India, Kashmir, and Palestine.
धार्मिक मान्यताओं के साथ हमें इजराइल में बसने की सुविधा दे, क्योंकि जिस बीमारी से वो लड़ रहे हैं, मानवता के जिस कैंसर से वो लड़ रहे हैं, हम पिछले 1400 सालों से उस कैंसर के पीड़ित हैं.
Indian government, Hindu nationalist leaders, and the Indian news media are working together to use Hamas resistance operations against Israel as a means to stoke Hindu victimhood by claiming India and Israel share a common enemy and a common cultural threat: Islam and Muslims.
The same radical, jihadist, Islamist, terrorist thinking that Israel is a victim of, we are a victim of as well. Israel is fighting this war on behalf of all of us. Israel is fighting this war for you and me.
As millions of Hindus are becoming radicalized by pro-Israel propaganda at home, hundreds of Indian Jews are migrating to Israel to join the Zionist army to hunt and kill Palestinians for sport. And we know that the very worst atrocities and massacres committed by Israeli forces in Gaza are being carried out by ultra-religious platoons and companies, including those containing Indian migrants and those who have been embedded with the Israeli military's notorious Golani Brigade, a crack unit that has been accused of deliberately murdering Palestinian women and children. And while these massacres are taking place, the Indian government is using its online troll army to help Israel with its propaganda efforts by producing and amplifying fake stories about Palestinians.
Today we're looking at Indian disinformation on the war between Hamas and Israel. Some accounts are accusing the Palestinians of using crisis actors. Tell us more about this.
That's right, Tom. Amidst the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas, there's this 26-second video that's been a viral video that's been circulating amongst Indian social media accounts with Islamophobic and pro-Israeli tendencies. A video that alleges to show Palestinians staging their war injuries.
Synchronicity between India and Israel also extends to the economic realm, with the Modi and Netanyahu relationship helping secure deals that will funnel billions of dollars into Israeli startups and other businesses at a time when Israel faces growing economic isolation stemming from the growing boycott movement.
Out there. Now, if you've been keeping up, you can already see a trend. Indian companies are acquiring some of the largest companies in Israel, and these are not just the sole acquisitions out there. That should immediately set in stone just how important Israel has become to India and vice versa. Finally,
a new report shows that the Israeli regime plans to permanently replace Palestinian workers with 81,000 foreign workers this year, with a majority to come from India. It's important you know what's happening in the background between India and Israel, because the genocide taking place in Gaza will continue long after the bombs stop falling on the Palestinian territory, particularly given Israel has telegraphed its intent to forcibly expel survivors to Egypt, a move that will bring further economic and diplomatic isolation to the Zionist state. Which means that Israel will need powerful friends and allies like India to keep its economy afloat. So, if our efforts to liberate the Palestinian people are to be highly effective, then we must identify and include Indian products in the Boycott Israel movement. This will not only help save Palestinians from further injustice, but also hundreds of millions of Muslims in India and Kashmir. This program is dedicated to bringing peace and equality to Palestinians, Kashmiris, and Indian Muslims. Anyway, that's my time for today. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and we kindly ask you please support our effort to expose and confront injustices in the Muslim world